everyone. I'm Julie Chabdi, Associate Director of Health and Wellbeing Program with the WorkWell Center, and your host for today. In support of May Mental Health Awareness Month, we are excited to have you all here for the Courage to Go Forward 5-week webinar series sponsored by the USC WorkWell Center's Healthy Campus Mental Health Subcommittee. The goal of the series is to raise awareness about mental health, reduce stigma, and provide support and community. So over the next 50 minutes, our speakers will be sharing their expertise around this very important topic, sharing resources, engaging you in conversation. Throughout today's session, you're welcome to use the chat to ask questions or make comments, and we'll also have time at the very end for a live Q&A. We'll also be asking you to fill out a brief evaluation survey to give us feedback, and we'll be doing 2 raffle prizes. So let's get started. I am honored to introduce our special guest for opening remarks. She is our Healthy Campus champion, and it's my pleasure to turn it over to Felicia A. Washington, Senior Vice President of HR, Equity, and Compliance.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie, and hello, everyone. I'm going to start here. Courage to go forward. I'm going to confess that I first struggled with the theme, courage to go forward. One definition of courage is the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. So I thought, as we're kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month, we're asking everyone to be mentally strong. Isn't that sort of like asking a person with a broken leg to kick the ball? No, it's like asking us when we have a broken leg to walk using crutches or some corrective measure. It takes strength to do that. So guys, I love the theme because taking care of our mental health requires strength, and we have that strength. It oftentimes will require following the advice of medical professionals as well. Just yesterday, I accompanied a family member to enter a depression program. It was hard. And my family member continued to say, I really don't want to do this, but I know in my heart of hearts, I need to do it. I was impressed and incredibly proud of the strength that it took. And I will be there every step of the way to provide love and support. So I love this theme. I want to take a moment to thank Laura Hilton and the entire USC WorkWell Center team and the Healthy Campus Mental Health Subcommittee for putting together this 5-week series. Even providing this space helps to reduce the stigma, enhances peer support, and will foster, we hope, robust discussion. It's an opportunity to work together to rewrite the narratives surrounding mental health. With the public health emergency of COVID-19 scheduled to end on May 11th, I see a silver lining from the past few years: the amplification of mental health and well-being discussions. You know, before the pandemic, millions of Americans were experiencing stress, anxiety, and heightened levels of depression, and the pandemic actually exacerbated those conditions. But during that time, we witnessed resiliency and progress. USC alum Allison Felix, I'm a girl fan, used the time to reflect and remind us of the importance of being kind to ourselves. During the 2021 US Olympic and Paralympic Team USA Media Summit, she said, as an athlete, I think that there's so much on our plate and there's so many things to do, but I think the pandemic has really shown me how much of a priority that being kind to myself should be. At USC, the pandemic brought light to our existing commitment to mental health and well-being. President Folt, during her State of the University address, reminded us how USC continues to exceed its standards to ensure our work-life balance is optimal. In year 1 of USC Competes Moonshot, USC added a new paid personal holiday for each of us to recognize, one that aligns with our needs and beliefs and what matters to us. USC also continues to subsidize transit, commutes, and enlarge childcare resources. We're really trying to do our part to actively champion and advance our unifying value of well-being so that we thrive in a caring culture. You know, caring for ourselves shouldn't be an afterthought in our daily lives. It should be a priority. We are fortunate to have access to care should we choose to use it. Today's session will dive deeper into the resources and services available at USC. So I'll just name a few. The WorkWell Center offers free one-on-one counseling, a host of resources, and seasonal challenges and programming that support and create community around daily wellness practices. Lyra Health, it's a mental health benefit available to our faculty and staff enrolled in a USC health plan. Care for the Caregivers, that team supports our healthcare professionals by offering emotional and well-being support services. And you all know this, but if you go to the Employee Gateway's well-being page, you'll see all the resources available to you. I truly believe that every opportunity we take to invest in ourselves and our own individual well-being is an opportunity to live lives of purpose, peace, and progress. So I've covered that mental strength is used to implement the theme, courage to go forward. Well, have you heard the phrase, take courage? The dictionary says it means to give support, confidence, or hope to someone, as in the following sentence. Take courage, my friend. You are not alone in your struggle. Oftentimes, we know the best way forward requires a new path or some element of change. So how about this? Do something for a colleague, a friend, or a stranger even to inspire hope. It may be that your very act, that act enables the person to be successful. Be open to learning or trying something new so that you can inspire confidence. And how about try engaging in reflection to identify what matters most to you, as that skill set may be helpful, encouraging the next person. Each of us, every one of us, play a significant role in shaping the culture and sense of belonging here at USC. So I encourage you to develop relationships with your colleagues, family, and friends so that you can experience the enriching impact of community. And finally, to quote the globally renowned author Brené Brown from her book, Dare to Lead, choose courage over comfort. Being vulnerable with colleagues, family, friends, and even ourselves is no easy feat, but neither is growth. I encourage you these next few weeks to find ways to be courageous in your vulnerability. And many of you know, because I openly discuss, that my family plays a major role in my well-being. There's nothing more life-giving to me than spending time with Avery and Miles, my grandchildren. Whether it's Saturday FaceTimes, because they live in North Carolina, or going for a walk, and trust me, it's usually a run, but you know about the deeply researched connection between mental well-being and exercise and movement, right? Or maybe it's enjoying a movie together, and that's usually Trolls or Smurfs, or enjoying a sweepover, until we learn how to say L's, with Miles, who's age 2, and Avery, age 5. And when we have a sleepover, I do have to remind myself that sleep is overrated. At any rate, during any of those times, When I'm with people I love, life's meaning becomes refocused, and I'm reminded how healing love is, and I take it with me into all spaces that I walk, including at USC. Now, if you have an existing mental health or well-being strategy, I hope you'll share it with us at some point. If not, may you find what you need through courage to go forward. I want to thank the USC WorkWell Center again for sponsoring this 5-week series and for all you do to support our faculty and staff. And a big thanks to our series co-host, Dr. Chantel Young from the KSOM Office of Wellbeing, and to Dr. Cynthia Ryan from the WorkWell Center. I'm challenging every one of us to choose courage over comfort. If there's a session that appeals to you, please attend it. If you have an opportunity to participate in discussions, please do so. If you have a question, ask it. Please make the very most of this time. Be kind to your mind and fight on. I'll pass it back now to Julie. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you so much, Felicia, and thank you for sharing your stories and your strategies and tips with us, and really just your support. It's so encouraging to hear that USC has made workplace health and well-being a priority, and we really appreciate the resources that USC has invested in here for our faculty and staff. So thank you for taking the time to be here and to support this very important work. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce our two speakers for today. And I have had the pleasure of working with both of them very closely during my 2 years here at USC and serving on the mental health subcommittee. And their contributions, expertise, and passion is just so amazing. So please join me in welcoming our two co-leads, Dr. Chantel Young, Director of Keck School of Medicine, Office of Wellbeing, Medical Student Wellbeing Director, and Assistant Professor of Clinical Medical Education and Psychiatry with KSOM, and Dr. Cindy Ryan, Associate Director, Clinical Services, WorkWell Center. I'll turn it over to Chantel and Cindy.
Hello, friends. I'm so touched and honored to be starting off this month with such esteemed colleagues, Felicia, Julie, and Cindy. And we also have a whole team of people behind us, many of whom are here today, that constitute the USC Healthy Campus Mental Health Subcommittee. And this is one of many other subcommittees working on different aspects of health at USC, but we're lucky to work on mental health. And I won't read our goals, but you can see them here. My real vision for our group is that we become a central hub for all things mental health for our community, and really become a group that can be relied on to start meaningful conversations about mental health. We want to educate our leadership and managers about mental health. We want to be a place where people can learn about services and benefits in a clear way, because it can really be confusing sometimes to figure out what your options are. And also be a source of advocacy to make sure people at USC are getting the care they deserve. And our work is not going to be done until everyone in our community feels comfortable seeking mental health care and feels just as comfortable letting their manager know they have to call out sick for a mental health reason as they are for other types of health reasons. Next slide, and over to Cindy.
Thank you, Chantel. It's so wonderful to work in this partnership. And here is our committee. These just represent the kind of experience and dedication and what it means to take time and give and be a part of something, contribute, care. These are passionate individuals who really want to make a difference. So our subcommittee had a great oversight group that helped us, kept advising us in good ways. So we invite you to join any of the wonderful committees that are in the advisory board so that we can all work to grow forward in a community that cares about health and well-being.
So before we get started into our presentation, as always, I'd like to invite you to move during today's session. Feel free to stand, stretch, move, or in any manner that feels best for you. You can do some shoulder rolls, some side to side twists, reach overhead, whatever it is, just to take a little quick stretch break, some neck rolls, looking side to side. Just taking a few seconds to do this throughout the day is so important. So thank you for joining me in that. And now I'll turn over to Dr. Chantel Young to kick off our presentation for today.
Thank you, Julie. So we're here to talk about mental health at work. And this series is the first ever of its kind at USC. This is the inaugural event about mental health, not just for one school or one department, but our entire community on all our campuses for thousands of staff and faculty. And I think it's pretty revolutionary to talk openly about mental health on such a scale at USC. And I truly admire you, Julie, and everyone else at Workwell who had the courage to bring this to life. I think we've come together today to talk about mental health as normal, as a normal part of being a human, and that we all struggle sometimes. Struggling is natural, and it does not serve us to try to seem perfect on the outside, because silence and secrecy double the weight of any burden we're carrying. We're also here to say that you don't have to always be doing okay to still be a great USC employee and colleague. And in fact, being aware of your own suffering and in touch with your mental health can really increase empathy and make you better able to serve in whatever ways you serve our community. So I thought I would just start with, what is mental health anyway? Have you ever thought about a definition? As a clinical psychologist, here's 3 concepts I always find myself coming back to. The first is, what does mental health encompass as opposed to other aspects of health? Well, it's how we feel, how we think, and how we act. So how we feel, our emotions, that subjective experience of feeling in all of its shades and varieties. What are you feeling right now emotionally? And then we have our thoughts, that intellectual narrative process of mind, thinking, the words we use to describe our experiences, and all the beliefs and stories that end up shaping how we see the world. And then there's our behaviors. This is what our bodies end up doing in physical space, how we move through the world, what we say, what we do, the choices we make. But I also think about mental health as not about what's wrong with a person, but what's happened to them. Because one of the cruel tricks, I think, about mental health is that we often tend to think somehow symptoms are our fault. Like if somehow we could just cope better or manage ourselves better or just be a better person, that we would not experience mental health problems. And it becomes kind of a personal indictment, like something's wrong with us at our core or in our nature, that we're damaged. And we're just paying the price through our symptoms. And that is the most tragic lie of mental health, because everything we know through science and our understanding tells us that mental health symptoms are a reaction. They're about something that's happened, whether that's a genetic pattern that we're born into, or stressors, toxicities in our early environment that then shape our body, our physiology, and demand that we view and cope with the world in certain ways. And then my deepest belief is that our symptoms can often be worsened by our modern life, which is full of a lot of anxiety, disconnection, lack of spiritual connection, and just so much loneliness and isolation, which has been declared an epidemic by Vivek Murthy, our US Surgeon General. It's really a profoundly unnatural state for humans to be alone for long periods of time. So in other words, symptoms are often a natural reaction to a toxic situation. We know that mental health conditions are just soaring right now in the US and beyond. So how could this be any one individual's fault? No, it's our human system responding as it's designed to conditions that hurt. And in this way, we can forgive ourselves and work together to repair parts of our culture that hurt. If not nationally, then how about at least at USC? Next slide, please. You might also wonder, why are we talking about mental health at work? Like, isn't this a personal thing? What does our place of employment have to do with this? But work is a big deal psychologically. Work is a primary source of community and well-being. It can be a source of either poor health or good health. I think of the workplace as like the modern tribe, right? These are small groups where we're working in tandem together towards a common goal. That's a natural state for human beings, to be with a group trying to achieve something that none of us could do on our own, right? Something bigger than we are. And at its best, I think work is where we find a deep sense of camaraderie, feeling like we matter, we're needed, we're valued, we're one member of a team that is really achieving something. If you think for a minute about the best job you've ever had, and I hope it's at USC, but maybe it wasn't, but the one where you feel excited to come to work every day and just engaged, invigorated, the day flies by, you feel happy at the end of the day. Have you ever had a job like that? And what made it so good for your mental health? It probably had something to do with other people, the connections you felt to them, or maybe a sense of dignity and respect and importance that others gave to you, and probably some sense of meaning, of value and purpose, no matter what kind of work that was. And so because of the tremendous meaning that work has in our lives, it can also has the possibility of being a negative influence, right? We all know about burnout. We've heard this word. The definition of burnout is that it's a state of emotional exhaustion, detachment or depersonalization, and low sense of accomplishment. And that comes when we are not resourced or equipped to do our jobs in the way that we would all like to, because we all want to do good work, right? And when we can't, because we got too much to do, we don't have a good relationship with our manager or our colleagues, or something is demoralizing us, we get burned out. And the problem with burnout is it doesn't just stay at work. It bleeds into our lives. And even though burnout is not a mental health condition, it's a stress reaction, but it can be a short path from burnout to actual mental illness, like depression or anxiety. So this is why we have to talk about mental health at work. Next slide. I'd like to share with you a story. Around actually this time of year in May of 2016, the Keck School of Medicine lost a young medical student to suicide. His name was Sean Petro. He's pictured here. And with the permission of his mom, I'm sharing his photo with you. He was rising into his fourth year of medical school when he took his life. This was just before I was hired, and a devastating loss. The reason I share his story today with you is not to be sensational, but to point out a key element, which is that Sean never got any help. He never tried professional mental health care, and he did not tell anyone how he was feeling. So he was quite alone. And Sean's mom gave me permission to share those details because we know that Sean's story is shared by many at USC. We don't know exactly what made him feel like taking his life was his only choice, but we do know that for many others who have dealt with depression or suicide, telling someone about it and getting the right support has worked. And I also want to share that later that same year in 2016, we actually had a faculty member at the medical school, Dr. Mike Snow, who decided to come out about his depression during a lecture following Sean's death. He shared his story with a group of 200 students in a lecture hall. And if any of you are faculty out there, you know that takes some bravery. When Dr. Snow shared his experience, it made huge waves. Students were so appreciative of this very competent, well-respected faculty who is now retiring, openly sharing in that way. So we decided to formalize this idea into an annual panel that we call Mental Health Among Us, where faculty share in this way. And what's amazing to me is over 7 years that I've been working here, the number of faculty willing to speak out went from 1 in Dr. Snow in 2016 to 2 in 2017 to now it is so many that want to participate that we have to turn most of them away because we can only choose about 6 people. So for me, this is the value of coming out of the silence, and this is what Courage to Go Forward is all about. Next slide. So my last two slides here, I just want to share with you what we're working on over at the Keck School. I have been working as Director of Medical Student Wellbeing for 7 years, and then 2 years ago in COVID, I was asked to expand this role to include all faculty and all staff at the Keck School as well, which is almost 8,000 individuals in total. And here's our website landing page that has a quote that encapsulates what we're trying to do, which is to create a culture in which we no longer have to sacrifice our own well-being to serve others. This is what we're calling professional well-being, but it's all about allowing people to thrive physically and emotionally at work. So it's really one and the same with mental health. And last slide. I just want to share with you the model that we use for well-being in case it's useful to other schools or departments out there. This is Stanford's model of professional fulfillment, and it's a national model about how to approach well-being. And at the bottom in blue, you see personal resilience. That's the responsibility we all have to take care of ourselves. And I would put being willing to reach out for mental health care in that blue category. But fulfillment is also dependent on two things that are not about any one person, because a bad system is going to beat a good person every time. So a culture of wellness and efficiency of practice. Now, efficiency of practice, that was created to describe physicians, but you can match it to your workplace. That means things like staffing. Do we have enough people to do the job? Technology. Do our email and Teams serve us or make things harder? What are the pebbles in the shoe? Processes that we need to fix. But then there's the culture. How does it feel to come to work? Do we feel safe to be who we actually are? Especially if we're members of an underrepresented group. Are we safe to try things out, make mistakes, have different opinions than other people? Do we feel supported by our leaders, respected, included? Or are we expected to seem perfect all the time, work overtime, be on email after hours? That's our culture. And if we don't work on that, no amount of policies is going to help. If you would like to learn more about our specific initiatives, please email me and we can talk anytime. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ryan to talk about a really important resource we can all take advantage of. Cindy?
Thank you so much, Chantal. You really help us understand and see the progression of dedication and how it is transformative. It does create hope. So USC WorkWell Center is your employee assistance program, and it's really here to remind that this is the process to fulfill what we need in our USC values, which is finding well-being. So moving forward, I thought I'd share what is the philosophy of employee assistance? Where does it come from? What is it about? And Chantal, you've really set the stage beautifully to help share this process, because healthy work life brings healthy home life, and healthy home life can bring healthy work life. It's very much reciprocal. You're right. We have a rough day, we take it home, it's with us. We have something at home, we bring it into work. So we really want to create very much an approach that covers the whole person. And that means we're looking at mind, body, and spirit. And that's why our office really blends well-being and personal care together. We know that this is it. We go places, people ask us, well, what do you do? How do you define yourselves? Yes, it is a very powerful question, and it really is defining. It represents so much: our security, our identity, our competency, our accomplishment, all the things that we've been talking about. And when we ask the question, we really are following that tether of who is this person? What are they about? What do they value? What are they drawn to? So creating a sense of what we bring for a healthy career life can also help our whole life. So our next slide will tell us, what is it that we do? We want to create these very essential elements of what a career life is. Reacher says we do love to be productive. We want to feel accomplished. It brings us energy. It allows us to feel fulfillment. It does boost our self-esteem. And we get to sort of not only see that transformative experience, but it does really give us some positive energy and momentum. So the presence and experience of positive feelings in our environment is really crucial to a career life, a work life, in home, in our department, in our office, and wherever we may travel, that we can bring that positive experience forward. And that's realizing our potential. When we look at what positive energy can do, it really helps us fulfill our potential. So next slide. So ultimately, yes, we have essential elements. In many ways, we know health and well-being is a very mindful process. You know, how we exercise and how we have our nutrition and how we build our social life and our recreational life is all really important. And these are essentials for a healthy work life too. It really is built on very core qualities of respect and relationship and responsiveness and reward. It's what we bring to create an atmosphere, a community that we walk into every day that feels healthy and well. In our work, we really do focus on what are those strengths. We've been tying that together. It takes strength in all that we do to face circumstances, challenges, take on projects, fulfill what is new. Strength and ability is what gets us through. And that's one of the first questions that we'll begin to ask. Well, tell me, what helped you get through that moment? What was it that really propelled you to meet that challenge? Because this is the strength. So I'd like for you just to take a moment and look at what is your superpower. What are you bringing into your work environment every day that represents that strength, that energy, that positivity? Welcome to put it in the chat so that we can just hear. Everyone brings something very valuable and important to fulfill that process of a healthy work environment. And to credit that and notice it is really essential. Optimism, energy, beautiful. These are the things that fuel us for what we need to do. So, listening, thank you, Sarah. That's beautiful. And William, I love it. Yes. Courtesy, kindness, dignity, empathy, humor. You know, will we not commitment? Will we not want to go in and join that experience of a team that really fulfills these values of compassion? So think on this as your gift that you bring each day. So moving forward, let's consider what do we do? Our goal in what happens in our moment working together is really managing the natural life experiences, changes, challenges we face. Just as Chantal said so well, we are experiencing life. We have a human experience. We're having many appropriate responses to the world around us. And it changes all the time. You know, we know that sometimes we're going to wake up and feel a certain way. And by the time we get through certain things, we're going to feel differently. So we need to stay mindful and aware and know what we experience are important messages. They're telling us important things. So our job when we meet is really to assess. Let's understand what these appropriate responses to real life are about. What are they telling you? What are they telling us, whether it's in an individual, in a relationship, even in a work group situation? We want to create a safe haven. We want and we provide a utmost confidential environment to process and really talk about these feelings, because ultimately the messaging is identifying what's needed. And that's where we may go with this. If we're experiencing something and we notice it, what is it telling you and others about what you need? And that's where we can empower our movement forward. And then we plan self-care support, resources, referrals, continued connection with our community. We realize that part of what we want to accomplish is connection for you, as Felicia said, with resources, with benefits, with what's going on in the community, with others throughout the university. We want to be that support system that helps you get there. So this is where we open up and we can grow forward. So next slide. Being self-aware of learned is really part of our self-care. As we said, when you notice, when you stay aware and you are feeling and noticing something, that you can be responsive to it, that it's saying, hey, let's look at what's needed. Let's look at where you need to go. Where can you begin to reach out? Many times we begin with just changes, sudden changes, even planned changes can activate, natural responses and emotions. Or we may have an awareness that our mood is shifting or our emotions are activated in some way. And that it's drawing us toward figuring out solutions and realizing what is it that we do need. If we notice that we're withdrawing, if we're stepping away, as we say, sometimes this is where we retreat, but yet, as Chantal was saying, sometimes isolation is really going to magnify the situation. So it's really saying, wait a minute, rather than pull away, turn toward one another right then and there. We may notice changes in energy for ourselves and others. These are signs that we may experience or we may observe in those around us. And we may be that one voice, that one moment of outreach that begins to say, hey, I've noticed something. And let's tell me what you need. What's happening? How can we help? So reaching out is a sign of strength. It is a sign of propelling us forward. And I would look at these elements of a healthy work and career life and apply them not only to yourself, but others as well. So I would begin with, respect that emotional experience within you. Know that it's important and valuable to understand more fully. Respect and understand others' emotional experiences. They are living it, and we need to understand what that is. Build on that relationship with yourself to say, hey, I'm going to take care of myself, and with others as well. Staying responsive is about that mindfulness moment. It's not about storing it away and overriding it or saying, okay, I'll deal with that later. It's about saying, wait a minute, I'm feeling this way now. What is it I need to do? And with others, what can we do? And that appreciation for just, self and others to reach out, to know there are places that can be there fully. When we're working with supervisors and leaders and managers, we guide a conversation that says something very specific. It says, if you're noticing a change, it's time to have that conversation and reflect that concern. State that you care. Honor that, hey, this is a time we need to understand you and what you need. How can I help? How can we work together? How can we find the resources that will help you? And then moving forward, let's look at our community. Our community is where we thrive. Yes, it is a Trojan family, a tribe, and it is built on these kinds of values. Many times in trainings or talks or presentations, these dynamics come up. So I look at this as a real essential to build on values, identify them, presume the best intention that you are providing and that others are bringing. Acknowledging all, the value of all. Everyone is contributing something important and valuable. We need to recognize and appreciate. that everything is valid. We may think differently, or we may have different approaches, or we may have something happening that was unexpected, but looking for where there is value in it can help us keep a positive direction. Expressing and showing empathy that we can understand. We all know how these times can feel. So it's building on that, because it is about feeling unified. It is about expressing the we in all of us. We're all working hard. We're all making things happen. We all get what it means to keep going forward. And so make a shared mission that really is part of where you grow forward. Willingness to share, helping others actually helps us. We know that. We know neurochemistry is telling us that when we're kind and we're caring and we're giving to others, it's good for ourselves. And realize there's hope. There's hope in solutions. There's always a solution. And Felicia was talking about her grandkids, and I will tell my grandkids when there's a challenge going on, we just pause and we say, you know what? There's always a solution and we'll find it. So I'll close with this one thought, that being kind with everyone you meet is important, because we're all fighting within to be the best. And ultimately, that's a quote from Plato. So when we think about the historical nature of why we have a need for kindness, it comes from the very beginning of our learning as people. So I'll go forward from there, and we will share with you all have information on our mental health benefits and resources. The beauty of what we've provided is that we have a whole dimension of resource information, counseling, consultation, talks. When in doubt, don't hesitate. Go to our website, find out more, call us, ask questions. We're absolutely accessible to you at any time. And next slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for that. And I'll just take a few seconds to mention that we also have a health and well-being directory, which is available on our website and also shared through the Employee Gateway. And it's essentially an inventory and collection of all our health and well-being resources available to USC faculty and staff, and highlights our partnership networks throughout USC in support of our mission and our unifying value of well-being. So we hope you find this guide valuable and share it with others. And back to Cindy for more of the resources.
Yeah, just know that, part of our role is understanding our benefits. We are really sort of navigators and translators as to how to navigate them. We stay as a support system for you as you move through them. So know that we are there. And thank you, Carla, for putting up the resource directory, because we put our heads together and we find a lot of resources within our health plans. Going forward, we also have just incredible departments that do good care. School of Social Work is a tremendous giver of care. And so we really honor them, and they have been so supportive. Care for Caregiver is wonderful. And later in our series, you will hear from them and learn the ways in which they support our caregiving staff. Next slide.
So the next resource is Counseling and Mental Health, which is our student health center. And I know there's probably no students on the call, but the reason we want to highlight it for faculty and staff too is that this is where you send students of concern. You can call them actually 24/7 and get a confidential, and if you want, anonymous consult as a faculty or staff member about a student you're concerned. They're a great resource and they're really underutilized in that regard. So please call them if you're concerned about any students. And then OT, run, do not walk to occupational therapy. If you have never done it, I have been to OT, and lifestyle redesign is all about healthy behaviors. So if you're trying to get a handle on a good sleep routine or time management or procrastination, and you just can't seem to get that insight to translate into behavioral change, these are the pros. And we really have good coverage. I believe it's $15 or $20 a session with USC insurance. So great resource. Next slide. And then I just learned about this yesterday, but USC Dornsife is actually training therapists, and you can go see a student therapist who's getting great supervision and who has the very latest training. This is especially good if you need a really low cost option for therapy that's ongoing, or for any reason you can't or don't wish to take advantage of USC WorkWell resources. This is another great option. And then finally, my office is listed at the end here. And again, just reach out if you'd like to learn more about professional well-being interventions for culture and systems that can help your local environment. Next slide.
So looking forward, we are hoping that you will pass the word, because we want to grow the momentum of this messaging. And next week, we will have an incredible presentation called Move Forward with Julie Chabdi, with Sarah Ivanhoe, and our counselor here, Tom Badsey. So we want to cover all the dimensions of what you would want to know about moving forward. So please, let's get the word out and have more join in. So for those of you who are listening today, we understand that we are bringing about, a time of listening, reflection, awareness. We know that if it's activating or anything comes to mind for you personally, that we want you to know we are here. We are here now and or 24/7. So should things be, surfacing now, please do not hesitate. Let us know how we can be of support to you now.
Thank you so much, Chantel and Cindy, for all this great information and the resources and sharing your expertise. And just being mindful of time, we only have 3 minutes left. So we want to encourage all of you to fill out our survey. We have the code there if you want to scan the QR code, or Suzanne will put the link in the chat. Just 7 quick answers that we need from you. And doing so will enter you into a raffle for a gift card. The survey is anonymous and will take you to another link to enter your name. We'll also be doing a raffle, but I wanted to just see if there were any quick questions that the presenters can answer. So if you have one, feel free to put it in the chat. I do have a question that came earlier to me about the mental health subcommittee and people wanting to join and see how they can help contribute to this great work. So can you share some of the projects that are brewing within this mental health subcommittee, and how can someone join?
I'm happy to share, Cindy, if you want.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, to join, email us. Email Julie, email me, Cindy, or Suzanne, and we'll get you added. We can always use more help. So we currently have 4 subgroups within our committee, and we're working on a variety of things to be delivered this year, including a 1-sheet simplified information guide on all of your mental health and well-being resources, clarified by who can use which services, because we know that can get confusing. So why would you choose what and when? We're also doing a simplified guide on all USC insurance plans and what they offer for mental health, so people can weigh pros and cons when they're selecting their benefits. We want to get that out to you before open enrollment for sure. Policy is important. So we're working on a paper reviewing what the existing USC benefits and health policies are, and we're going to be advocating for additional inclusion of mental health in some of our existing policies, like time off, sick days, supplemental disability, and we're also working on maternity leave as an important part of mental health. And then finally, we're working on an information guide on what therapy is all about, what it feels like, what that first session is like, to lower barriers to entry. And that's just this year. We have bigger plans for the future, including how to educate leadership on mental health and dealing with employees that have distress. How to create psychological safety is a big thing that our leadership and all of us need to be trained on. We want to start getting mental health into the system, so into evaluations of leadership and managers. How well are they enacting mental health and well-being concepts? Maybe in employee evaluations. Can there be an incentive to do an annual mental health self-assessment like we have for physical health? Could there be an incentive to pursue community mental health care? We want to do a podcast, we want to do bystander training, we want to do panels, all kinds of stuff. Did I cover it, Cindy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the brilliant thing is everybody has a very dedicated, sincere efforts to want to make a difference. So that's what is the core reason for being there.
And one thing I failed to mention is we're looking at the intersectionality of mental health and underrepresented communities. So
Mm.
we're especially interested in that as well. If you have a passion, we'd love for you to get involved.
Thank you, Chantel and Cindy. A lot to get involved in. We can use your expertise, time, passion. Please join us and be part of this really important work to go forward. So with that, we'll take just a few seconds to do 2 raffle winners. So Carla, would you like to spin the wheel and see who our lucky raffle winners are for being here today? And we'll be giving out a Workwell journal for you to use for reflection, gratitude. Kamiko Yamada. Congratulations, Kamiko.
Another winner.
Marie Mayan Cho. Congratulations. Well, thank you everyone for being here today, and we will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, for Move Forward on physical activity and mental health. Thank you all. Have a
Care
great day.
yourselves.
You all
Bye.
take care. Be well.